Afternoon, collective, on this blustery day in California, the 4th of July. I hope you guys all have, plans to spend some time with your significant others today. Here, it's custom to barbecue and things of that nature, and, set off a lot of fireworks for those of you who are not American. And I know that every country basically has its own, equivalent day of independence, and I use that term almost with tongue-in-cheek. Yeah, but I'm not going to go ahead and start right off with a segue, so I'll just wish you the very best day, because most of you are enlightened enough to see through the veneer of titles and things of that nature, and hopefully see what is versus what they want you to believe, the Matrix. And with that being said, let's just go ahead and look right at the energy that we already had from the previous days this week, Monday through Thursday, or Sunday through Thursday actually. Started off on the overall energy for Sunday being day gaz, which means day, daybreak, daytime clarity versus nighttime, obscurity and so on. That means balance, ambition, growth, light of day again, breakthroughs, awareness, time to embark on a new venture, and also security during this time. Very positive room. So if you were thinking about doing something, they're saying this is definitely the week in which to go ahead and initiate that. Now, Thursaz is Thor's rune. We got that for Monday. It, in a nutshell, stands for protection. Now, there's other things that are associated with it, of course, being that, we're talking about the god of thunder, one of Thor's sons, or one of Odin's sons, excuse me. So on top of protection means like the reactive force, directed force and defense, the power of the will, the male seed, male sexuality, vital eroticism. They take their sex very seriously, those Vikings. Or I wouldn't be here probably. All right, so for Tuesday, we pulled Lagoose. Lagoose is talking literally about all things water, divine feminine, or the feminine aspect of spirituality and so on. Mysteries, secrets, psychic abilities, ability to see one's future or see one's path in advance, vital energy, life energy, renewal, growth. It also speaks of the underworld, Helheim in the Norse, and success in travels. Okay? So just think in terms of the divine feminine if you're aware of those terms. It's actually used in conjunction with the rune Perthro, which is the overall rune that we picked up for Friday when we did a pre-week pull. And Perthro means basically games of chance, dice cup, and again, mysteries and feminine things, feminine issues, secrets, secret occult things, determining your future, feminine fertility, fellowship, joy, and change. So we have, two runes that are very specific that outline the divine feminine for this week. And the majority of the runes, not all of them, came yesterday, especially from Freya's Ayat group or family, the very first one. And again, to recap, Freya is the goddess of, she's a goddess of many things, not the least of which is, witchcraft, war, fertility and abundance, success. I mean, she's a goddess of many things. And she's the one that taught, Odin himself magic. So, and again, to recap, the gods and goddesses in the Norse pantheon are more like us, except they have their magical qualities, of course. A lot of them are bigger than life and all of that, more like, almost like the demigods talked about in Greek, Roman, and yes, Mesopotamian, Babylonian, Akkadian beliefs. And actually Hindu as well, maybe Egyptian. Again, I'm starting to see yet another parallel though in terms of the demigods. And a demigod is basically a offspring of both a mortal person, with male or female, and a god. That's what makes him a demigod. And the last one that I'm familiar with, at least in terms of Babylon and Mesopotamia, was Gilgamesh. And Gilgamesh, being a demigod, could be likened in some ways to Hercules and many others spoken about in Greek and Roman pantheons. But he went on his great journey and everything else, and went to go find and seek out what we would call Noah today. Their flood story is much more thorough, much more to the story, if you will, and it precedes, of course, the biblical narrative. I don't know by how far. It's probably exactly the same story. It's just told in much greater detail in the ancient cuneiform. But anyways, Gilgamesh, being a demigod, went on his little walkabout, and he met himself something of a monster that was guarding the cypress forests and everything else. You know, it protected the trees. And as they did battle and everything else, they actually ended up becoming best of friends and went on their ventures. They slayed a giant and things of that nature, and other things on their journey. He also is described as a giant, by the way, being, what we would consider from a biblical perspective a Nephilim, which is again half God, or they would think half fallen God, fallen angel, and man. So that's a whole nother story. Again, yet more parallels that we find within the different worlds religions. But I digress. I don't want to get too far off on a tangent. On Wednesday and Thursday, we pulled Othala and Nauthis. Othala means anything to do with property, basically. Home, house, dwelling, inheritances, your spiritual heritage as well. Physical and spiritual journeys, again, safety while you're embarking on those things, and both increase and abundance. It's a very, very positive rune in terms of material gain. They're speaking of all these things coming to you very, very soon, if not already, enjoying those things. Like I said, everybody's going to be in a different place in their timeline, so some have already experienced many of the things we're talking about. Some are going through it right now, such as me. Others have yet to actually start to go through many of these things. But if you're watching this, the odds are far greater than not that you are going to experience some, aspect of what we're discussing here, because the energy is being picked up and shared with those who are meant to see it. All right, so now what does that speak of? Well, it speaks about, it's like a yin and yang kind of a thing. It speaks about, of course, delays, disruptions, obstacles, limits, upheavals, and resistance, which leads to strength, right? But also it talks about seeing the fruits of your earlier efforts and labors. So again, speaking about materialistic payoff for things that you've already invested in. And that could have been just, you could have been paying these things or investing in these things as recently as just today or what have you, or it could have been years ago. And you're going to see the fruits of your labor for that. May even catch a few of you completely by surprise, but it'll be a welcome surprise, I'm quite sure. All right, and of course the overall weekly energy is Urus in reverse, and Urus in reverse is not a particularly good rune, as we've discussed. So the overall energy that exists, but you don't have to allow that to become your reality. It's just an energy that's predominant, that's out there. And if you give it the opportunity, it can and will manifest in your life. But it speaks about weaknesses, illnesses, sickness, weak will, ignorance, lust, being dominated by others, violence, obsession, all these very negative attributes. You would call, well, the 7 sins, basically, deadly sins from a Catholic perspective. And again, it doesn't necessarily have to be your energy specifically. Keep in mind, this energy is also energy from people in your energetic field, or your influence, or people that you associate with, whether it's family, friends, associates at work, people you meet at the coffee shop, or whatever the case may be. These are just people that you have some contact and I guess you can say, spiritual connection to of some type. Okay? All right. So with that being said, let's go ahead and start by getting a feel for today's energy. Yesterday was very, very good energy, and I hope that some of you guys got to experience some very good things after, we saw each other yesterday. Let's see what the energy is for today. Okay? Let's see what the energy looks like for today. With Perthro, it's a positive aspect. Again, it deals with femininity, divine feminine in particular. So, good. That means all things that are intuitive. You act as a magnet, drawing things to you instead of, going out and making things come to you and so on. You draw them to you. That's the difference between the divine feminine and the divine masculine, or one of many actually, but remember, we seek balance. Okay, one more. All right, let's cut the deck. All right, let's look what we got here at the bottom. Oh, what we have. All right, just call it the way I see it. All right, so what we have here is the Ace of Swords, but it's in reverse, and that's at the bottom of the deck. It's not the one I'm pulling, okay? The one on the top is the one I'm pulling. So this talks about lack of ideas or difficulty focusing, head fog, failures, arguments, conflicts, and unimaginative. And again, I know who this is talking about in my energetic field. It's not talking about me specifically. I got a lot of ideas. Right now, I just need the resources. But that's the way it usually works, right? So, but this is talking about either you or somebody in your energetic field is feeling these things or experiencing them, okay? And this could be the person that we're trying to identify, or each one of you are trying to identify. All right, so the energy for today is the best card in the tarot deck. We got this one yesterday, actually. Last card we pulled yesterday, the Sun card. So I did shuffle it. I shuffled it 3 times. I cut the deck 3 ways, put it back together, and we ended up with the Sun card again. So despite the negative energy overall for the week, we have the most powerful and blessed of the cards in the tarot deck with the Sun. And again, it means everything will go well, positivity, success, health, fun, and good fortune. Now, it may seem like a contradiction, but keep this in mind. When we're talking about energy, we're reading a lot of different people's energies and a lot of people within those individuals' energetic field. So this is the most powerful and prevalent of the energies. This is a major arcana card. So this is powerful, okay? And like I said, it's the brightest, the best of all the cards in the tarot deck. So that is a great way to start off, the way we finished yesterday. All right, so can I get another energy, please, for my collective for today? Let's keep this good energy, please, Lord. Good energy, please. I've already said all my invocations. I said my prayers, asked for protection for you and for me as I open up these portals for truth and so on. And that's an important thing to remember if you're dabbling in divination. You're dealing in, other dimensions and so on. You want to make sure that you have your protection, okay? So you talk to your guides, you talk to the angels, you talk to the Most High himself, herself, themselves, okay? I do believe in the divine feminine. I do believe in the goddess Sophia and so on and so forth, it makes sense to me. You know, everything in this universe is balanced. And when you read the story of, you know, our creation from the Gnostic perspective, it makes even more sense. And it makes a lot of sense of things that we read about in the biblical text as far as the creation story and everything else. Again, it's much more in depth. So now I'd invite you all to look into that. You're not going to be struck by lightning by seeking out knowledge. God wants you to test the spirits. He tells you to do it. And he tells you to be like the Bereans, to prove yourself worthy through your, your inquiry, your studies, and so on. And that's what Gnosis is. It's about knowledge, gaining wisdom, okay? All right, so what's another energy for today, please? God, another major arcana. This is unbelievable. I'm pulling only 3 cards. There's 7 cards in the deck. And out of 3 so far, we've got 2 major arcana cards. There's only 20 or 21 major arcana. There's 50-something, non-major arcana cards. So this is just like yesterday. So far, so good. The High Priestess. It's like not necessarily the opposite of the Hierophant, but this deals more with spirituality versus religiosity. We pulled the Hierophant yesterday. Today we're pulling the divine feminine aspect of that, which is one of the things that I embody as well. That doesn't mean I'm effeminate. It means that I have many of the qualities from both the feminine and the masculine perspective of things. I have been working on balancing out my spiritual, physical, psychological perspective on all things and walking the walk. But this means letting your intuition guide you. And that takes real, genuine practice and effort. It does. Sometimes your intuition is telling you to do things that your conscious mind doesn't understand. It just doesn't compute. And you hesitate or just choose to ignore it. And then you end up kicking yourself in the ass later. Damn, I knew that. I should have listened, blah, 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 It also talks about discernment, enlightenment, and spirituality. And again, there's a huge difference between spirituality and religiosity. Spirituality you can look at as being a singular, it's a solo response to spirituality, taking absolute accountability for everything that you believe and practice, whereas religiosity gets in a groupthink kind of mindset, and they believe that the group itself somehow being in the club will be, and maybe it is in some cases, edifying to people. I'm not saying that it won't be for everybody. It certainly isn't for everybody, and it's not for me, not anymore. I played that. This is what I practice, spirituality. I'm constantly learning. And I would strongly encourage you to investigate things on your own. At the bottom, we got the 5 of Staffs, or 5 of Wands. And it means the presence of conflict, competition, friction, chaos, rivalry, and disagreements. And again, I know exactly who this is talking about in my life. I hope that when you hear these things, you can actually at least get an intuition at who it might be. The first person that pops up in your mind, 99.99% of the time, is the right person. Okay? All right, so one more energy for today, please. So far, so good. If we get another major arcana, I'm going to be blown away. All right, one more card for the collective for today on this blustery July the 4th holiday. Well, at least a holiday for Americans. Probably anti-holiday for the British. Although they still own us. Most of them don't know it either, but they do. This is a corporation. We're not a free country. We haven't been for quite a while. So I know people would disagree, but I could prove that too, easily. Very easily. All right, so one more energy, please. One more time. Thank you. All right, 2 of Cups. 2 of Cups is just a good card. Talks about balance and harmony, exactly what we're seeking in relationship. So if you don't already have that, one of the things you should be striving for in whatever relationship you have, and it's not just a romantic relationship, although this does oftentimes speak of that. It could be a relationship with a sibling, with your children, with your parents. It could be with a family, or I'm sorry, a boss or what have you, somebody at work. So, but it does speak about love typically, partnerships, friendships, peace, and romance. So, again, nothing but positive there. And that's exactly the way we want to start things off, okay? Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and start looking at some of the energy that the magical runes have to say about today. 1,000 different interpretations and so on that we can get from the runes. Can I get an energy for today? July the 4th. Thank you so much. Today. Alright. No way. Alright, so we pulled out Perthro and it's in the upright. The overall energy for Sunday that we pulled for this day, guess what? Was this rune. So this is the second time this week the pre-pull turned out to be the actual present energy for that day. Again, it just shows the consistency of these divination rituals that we're going through. So Perthro for the pre-pull on Sunday for today, and the actual pull for today as well. And just to highlight again, it means anything dealing with chance, luck, games of chance, gaming, divine feminine aspects, the things that are hidden, looking into one's future, knowing one's path, all things that are dealing with the occult, things dealing with the underworld, things that are unseen, all things feminine, the female vagina, fertility, fellowship, joy, and change. That's what Perthro means. So again, nothing negative at all so far. Everything completely positive. All right, let's get some influences, please. Get some influences for today, please. What energies do we need to know in advance are out there today, or that we can tap into to further aid us in our daily endeavor? Thank you. Another energy for today. Jera. Jera's a good one too. Okay. Let me write it down real quick. All right, so Jera is in the second family or ayat, just like Perthro is. So yesterday, almost everything we pulled was in the first ayat. So far today, all of the ones we pulled are in the second ayat. Okay, and that's under the warrior family, under Heimdall. He's the one that guards the gates of Asgard itself. Now, what does Perthro mean? It talks about years, harvest, legalities, rewards, peace again, and commitment. So speaking about your relationships, perhaps, and perhaps with a lover, whatever that looks like in your life, and harvesting again from your earlier efforts. That's what it means. So we're getting confirmation after confirmation from the tarot, from the runes, both past and now present. And I love it when everything works out so cohesively like this. And I hope you can see it too and get a feel of the reality of all of this, that this is genuine. When you can tap into this energy and everything else, it truly is a blessing. Okay? All right. Another influence for today, please. Is there anything else that we need to know about in terms of energy that will influence my collective for today? And thank you. Another energy for today, and thank you. All right. That's Hagles. Hagles. It looks like an N instead of an H, but it actually does stand for an H in their runic alphabet. Hagles. Okay, and put that over there. And Hagles is the first rune of the second Ayat. So it looks like everything we're pulling is under Heimdall, the warrior god's, family for today. What does it mean? Well, Hegel talks about hail, disruption, change, delays, limits. Talks about the fruits of earlier. It's a positive rune. Okay, it's like so many in this particular family. It sounds like many of the attributes are negative, but they're not. It's like a yin and yang thing. So very similarly to what we already talked about. Okay, whereas Nalthis means needs, necessities, constraints, restrictions, patience, overcoming conflict, and so on. The fruits of earlier efforts. Hageles talks about possible disruptions and delays and limits that are inevitable in every single day. So think of it like a Buddhist would caution you to, like the Buddha himself would. We only stress out and become irritated, conflicted when we're either looking at our past or into our future. Generally, what's happening right here, right at the moment, is not bad. So it's our minds that cause much of the suffering in our lives. Focus on the here and now. It's kind of what it's saying, okay? All right, now with that being said, let's go ahead and look at our future, please. Future energy, please, for the collective. You get a future energy for today, between now and midnight tonight. Now, keep in mind, these are timeless readings. So even though I'm doing it daily and everything else, this is meant to be seen when you see it. So if you see this tomorrow, 2 weeks from now, or 2 years from now, assume we haven't blown ourselves up by then, then that's when you were meant to see it, okay? All right, another rune. Very good. Algus. Algus, this is the one that Winston Churchill made very famous and became very, very famous in the 60s for the peace movement. And it's in the upright. And again, this is in the second family, or Ayat. So all of them today are being looked after by Heimdall itself, it looks like. He's taken complete control of this particular reading. Every one of the runes we pulled were in his family, his group. And there's only 8 in that family. That means there's a whole another 16 runes out there we could have pulled from. Well, actually 32, because I have 2 complete sets in here. So again, that in and of itself statistically is like pretty crazy. I mean, 66.6% of the tarot cards we pulled were major arcana, just like yesterday. That's pretty much it's just uncalled for, or not uncalled for, but it just doesn't happen, especially 2 days in a row. But it has, and again, so that just tells you the power that's going on here and how positive it is. So what does Algus mean? Well, it means, again, protection and defense, just like Thor's rune, just like Othala and many of them actually, Dagaz as well. So friendship, the soul, guardian. In fact, this rune is used in terms of guarding the threshold of your place, your home, if you will. They have what they call bind runes. It's where you put 2 or more runes and you basically overimpose one upon another to produce a different symbolic picture, if you will. So you can put this one, perhaps with, well, let me see. I got some bind runes. I'll show you some examples of it. What does a bind rune look like? Now, not all authors on the subject agree with, the magical aspects of the runes, okay? You know, they like to look at everything very, oh, I don't know. But these are a couple of examples of bind runes, for example, where you put 2 or more runes together to get, you know, a different meaning and overall energy that can be used magically. So, which one do I have with Algis? Algis. Do I have any there? No. Oh yeah, for strength. Yeah, for strength I have Esau and Algis. So anyways, that's kind of what a bind rune is. A bind rune is, like I said, 2 or more runes put together, superimposed one upon another, or basically it could be also in a line to generate a more specific energy, one that focuses on a very specific type of task. It's like a magical, you know, aspect of use for the runes. All right, so Algis, again, another positive rune, talking about both defense and protection. Also, another about friendship. So we're seeing many of these keywords repeated over and over and over with different runes and with the tarot cards. So very, very good stuff. Now we're going to go ahead and finish things off by pulling a couple of hidden truth cards. All right. So it's still intimating that the people that are out there that are wanting to come back into your life, okay, maybe, like I said, harboring some energies that we have to be very cautious of. Again, it could be you too, but it looks to me like they're referring to somebody else specifically. And earlier this week, we got what looks like you have 2 people, at least 2 people coming into your life. One is basically a wolf in sheep's clothing, and another one is somebody that was very likely to be with you or meant to be in your life. A soulmate doesn't necessarily mean a new lover. It often could be, but it could also be a friend, and you know, it could even be sometimes a sibling or somebody like that, you know, that's there to help you and to edify you in your journey. But what I am seeing to support the idea of love comes from some of the other tarot cards, like the one we got today, the 2 of Cups, and you know, some of the other pulls that we got throughout the week. All right, so can I get a hidden message for my collective, please? What do they need to know? What can I say to them to fine-tune this day in terms of energy for them? All right, I hid who I really am from you. Again, I know exactly who this is for me. And it's actually more than one person, but whoever you first thought of, that's probably who it is for you, okay? All right, let me get another one, please. So again, not everybody is straight up. Not everybody is open and honest. I mean, if you haven't already learned that in life, then you certainly will. In fact, most people, I would say. That's been my experience. Can I get another card for these collective participants, please? To edify them, to help them in their journey, their walk. What else do they need to know, Lord? Thank you. What else do they need to know? Thank you. One more. Okay. Sometimes I stay awake thinking about you. Wow. Okay. Well, somebody is quite smitten with you. There's no doubt about it. Again, could have been somebody that walked away from you in the past, somebody you walked away from. It'll be different for all of you. But it didn't work out at some point, and now they're missing you. But I got to say, because of a lot of things that are happening astrologically, this is the time that a lot of people from our past are coming back to us. So be aware of that, okay? And again, that doesn't mean you have to shy away from that or reject them or anything like that. You have to use your intuition, okay? Let's pull a couple of love cards, love oracle cards. Let's see again what Spirit has to tell us. Can you get a couple of love oracles, please, from my collective? What's happening for the collective in terms of love? Yeah. Love, please. Thank you. One more. All right. Palm tree. Talks about stability, security, permanence, growth, endurance, and flexibility. Now that sounds like any long-term relationship, I would think. So, I mean, it shouldn't feel like a jail cell. You guys should be edifying one another, but of course there's going to be good and bad times. That's just inevitable. You know, and we're both individuals, and you want, you know, them to be able to grow freely. You want to help them to flourish, just like they should hopefully want you to do the same. So there's going to be conflicts of interest from time to time. Okay? So with that being said, it's a positive card. Okay? Stability and security, permanence, growth. You didn't get into the relationship simply to break up, I would assume. Well, some people are like that. They're scared of any type of commitment. They want just the thrill of the chase, and then they get bored quickly because they have no control over themselves. So, you know, it's just about the physical, you know, excitement of the newness of something. Which, yeah, sure, it's exciting. It's always exciting at first, but you can keep that flame going, you know, especially if you're truly both deeply in love. It can happen. It's just the things in this world today. We live in a disposable society where when things don't go the way you want them, you simply dispose of it, get something new, right? That's the way people are taught to think today. All right, so one more energy for today on love. What else do we need to know, or the collective needs to know, about love? Uh-oh. Well, I screwed that up, didn't I? Oh, it's just that bottom one. Okay. Well, the hammer. It says sabotaging, rebuilding, interrogation, repetitive, persistent, and working on it. Okay? So again, this person that's coming into your life, well, from the past that is, maybe somebody that you've had a lot of conflict with in the past. And those intense relationships generally are the ones that are memorable for both good and for bad reasons. Okay? There was a lot of emotion tied up into that. In other words, a lot of energy that was tied up into that relationship. That's why, you know, certain witches and everything else, they key on those type of emotional situations, you know, to force their perspective and desires and an outcome. It's part of magic, you know, it's forced will. All right. So, again, that gives us a lot to think about. Certainly a tremendous amount of very, very positive energy, just like yesterday, with the most powerful and the brightest of all the cards in the tarot deck, and some extremely powerful ones in terms of the runes to support it. But we do have the warning that we've carried with us all week long, okay? In terms of there are definitely obstacles and things that may tend to get in our way throughout the week, that if we choose to dwell on it or allow it, it could overcome us. Or we, being with the energy that's available, could overcome it and actually have a very rewarding and positive experience as a result and learn something. Again, no matter what it is that's happening to you, just try to look deeply into what you are supposed to be learning from this situation. Okay? There's going to be some type of a lesson there. No matter how much it doesn't appear as such, there is. I mean, even in physics, we're starting to understand that. In well, maybe you don't know, but chaos theory and physics and stuff like that, even the things that seem most random can be quantified, in a computer in some cases. So how something will, end up falling, or in what direction, and something that seems obscure or what have you, or just by chance. There's nothing that happens by chance, is what I'm trying to get at. We're starting to understand that, even though science believes itself to be so whatever, they're simply catching up with what spiritual disciplines have been saying for literally thousands of years. So, and anyways, I'm just going to go ahead and end it there. We're again at almost 42 minutes, and I want you guys to have a blessed 4th of July. Enjoy your barbecues or whatever it is you choose to do. If you're not American, well, I'm not celebrating because I know the reality of it. I fought twice for this country under that lie, and I'm not going to sit here and go against what I believe and think and feel or know, just to appease and make everybody else, feel comfortable or happy. I know it's not true, but at the same token, that doesn't mean we can't enjoy our day all the same, right? And I am going to do that. So I'm going to play my guitar here in a few minutes. There's a lot more people here than usual today, so see what happens, I guess. And I wish you all well, okay? Peace. See you in Bahala.